This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by the Automatic Age. Imagine a world in which the Jetsons has gone horribly wrong and you're partway there. Available wherever you buy your books or at greatplains.mb.ca.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. Today, we are going to talk with Justin Curry, also known as Chasing Artwork, all about his foibles with his new long list of clients. Deep sigh, cue deep sigh. And we're going to let Dan cross-examine us on all of the bad things we say about our client problems.
What do you mean?
Well, just exactly that.
Okay, let's do it. I don't know what's happening, but
So
I'm in for the ride.
before you came in, and I've been thinking about this like all day today, because I have like, as a freelance artist, it's like, or freelance anybody, it's like the Wild West out there client-wise, right? And like almost no two clients are alike. There's big ones, there's medium ones, there's small ones, there's contracts involved, there's...
Ones who play on rocks?
Yep. Ones who play on rocks.
I understand that reference.
And so, like, right now, I have a couple little freelance jobs that, you know, there's no point in getting people to sign contracts if it's only for a day of work, kind of thing, right? You don't want to, like, make it now 3 days of work to, like, figure out all the paperwork and all the contracts and blah, 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 when you can just get it done, send it out the door. And then I have some, you know, big clients where it is, like, 3 days of paperwork. Like, we need all your personal information, your banking information, we need this, we need that, fill out this form, fill out that form. Okay, now we have to send it off to our people to get signed, and now you have to sign it again. Like, and a week later, now we can start the actual project. And then there's everything in between. And some of these projects have been going super well, and some of these clients are just the bane of my existence right now. And I just wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, I want to characterize this for those of you who are used to our sunny disposition on the podcast of saying that back in my misspent youth, I was a classroom teacher for 10 years, and teaching is wonderful and marking is the drudgery work.
Oh, yes.
Right? Every job has the piece that is necessary. It's a repulsive essential to the job. So the stuff we're going to complain about today are some of the repulsive essentials that we have encountered as a result of doing more freelance work since we're doing less traveling to shows. Mm-hmm. Is that a good way to characterize it?
Yeah. I think it's become a more prevalent part of our lives in the last couple months.
Now, this is not to say that there aren't a few villains in these stories, right? Justin's face is amazing. Yeah, there are a few villains in these stories. So maybe what I'll say is, if you are a freelancer who is hearing this, you'll know everything we're talking about because these people are kind of plug and play. All these kinds of scenarios are in the freelance life. But if you're not a freelancer, what you have to remember is that part of the kind of job that Justin and I do is creating our incomes, our total incomes, from multiple streams of incomes, multiple sources, multiple ways in which we use words and pictures to, you know, keep the lights on in the studio in our homes and feed my children who are currently building a giant box fort in the studio right now. So if you hear a collapse or a scream for help, that's what it's all about.
Actually,
Cue scream for help.
Funny, like the big client that I'm working for right now, they have like their standard kind of boilerplate contract. And in that contract, they needed proof of insurance at the studio, just in case while I'm working on their project and one of your children gets mortally wounded, I can't be sued and then countersue this big client. And that's never happened before. That's been a new, exciting aspect to signing contracts. Like,
lucky for us, we do have insurance at the studio.
We do, yeah, which I wasn't sure of. I'm like, I think I pay insurance, so
I pay
I hope this is what you mean.
Maybe my house, maybe my office. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, how many freelance artists have that? What's it called? Like basic
liability insurance.
Yeah, liability insurance. How many?
Probably not very many.
No, not very many.
Right?
No.
Yeah. So I was really pleased that I had it. I didn't know.
This is okay. So this is an interesting point too, because when we first kind of got into this studio space, you had already been in here and you had done a bunch of that paperwork and you had sort of arranged everything. And that was a question I asked you way back right at the beginning. I was like, oh, what's insurance and how's that going to work? Because I had to do that at my other studio. Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, it's all taken care of. I think it's pretty good. I have this paperwork here. I think it covers most things. And we kind of went through the bullet points at that time. And it's interesting about insurance is that you only look at insurance through the lens of right now, usually, right? Like, what do I have in here now? What are these computers worth? What are this stock worth? What is it? And your insurance should actually be a little more far-reaching than that if you're planning to build your business. And yours was. I remember thinking at that time, like, I wonder if we're paying too much for insurance, but perhaps not now.
Actually, because I had to print out basically my insurance contract and look at it, and I'm dating somebody who's very well versed on insurance, she did point out that I am paying for one thing that I really has no need to be there. And so I don't know if that's just the insurance people trying to get a little more out of me, or it was something that was explained to me that I just thought sounded like a good idea at the time. But again, it's a language I don't speak. So it took somebody who spends time in that world to look at it. They can immediately tell what's right and what's wrong.
Right. But, and that's also when we're talking about dealing with single day rate clients.
Exactly.
You don't want them to spend 3 days just to say, yeah, I'll pay you to do this one thing, right? And that's what we're talking about. Now, time suck. That leads us sort of smoothly into the morass of if you are a person who is hiring a freelancer, we love it when you give us a clear brief of what you expect, some clear examples of our work as it exists currently that correspond with the work you want from us so that we have a nice way of looking at what it is you saw in our work to begin with that fits your product. And we like to receive an email at the beginning of the project, in the middle of the project, and at the end of the project. We do not like being asked every 2 days for updates on a long form project.
So what can you define that time frame a bit longer?
Let me put it to you this way.
Month-long project?
Yeah, let's say it's a month-long project. At a certain point, we got to start charging you for those correspondences.
Oh, for sure.
So right now, for example, I have a freelance project that will take probably 3 days of my time. I started talking to this gentleman in July. There has been 3 or 4 correspondence per week since July. I barely started the work, and he's backed out of everything.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so it's turned into this huge kerfuffle. But just that, I've spent 10 times the amount of time emailing him than I was able to on the project. And it was infuriating.
And now you're not getting paid for any of that time?
Well, I had to fight a little bit for it because it's... So this is one of those freelance projects where it's a pretty small project. It's not worth signing contracts and getting any legal jargon involved. It's basically he wanted a piece of fan art of one of his favorite characters, drawn in my style.
And I'll interject here for people who are like, oh, contracts, whatever. Remember that your email correspondence, right, if it gets bad, counts.
Yeah.
Right, as a contract in that you have in writing, in correspondence, what was agreed upon. Mm-hmm. So often that's enough for a couple of days worth.
And it was also not it was not a large amount. It was not an amount large enough that if something went horribly wrong, that anybody's going to be going to court or doing any kind of small. It's a pretty tiny project, so there's no need to. I put a lot more effort into it than it deserved already, but I'm not going to make anybody sign a contract for what is a couple days work.
But really what the point of contracts is to prevent what happened, to provide incentives for somebody to stick with the deal, right? It's a little more, and yes, it is formal and it takes more time, but you're less likely to have somebody pull out of the deal if you have a signed contract, right? Because they'll feel responsible.
Right.
Without a contract, they don't feel responsible.
So nine times out of 10, I find with small projects like this, they only do take a day or two. And adding a contract into that now makes it a week of back and forth and figuring things out and changing the contract and blah. This was just, I was really hoping that this was going to be a cool individual, and we'd back and forth. I'd give him the thing. We'd be done.
What do you mean there's no ice? You mean I got to drink this coffee hot?
Maybe we should take a moment to talk about how you protect yourself against that kind of stuff. One of the things that I do is I bill first as a retainer, half of the amount, usually. Whatever it is. So like it's basically saying to them that your retainer is non-refundable, right? Your retainer is, I undertake to do my best to complete this task, but I can't promise that we will agree on everything. And there is a chance that it'll all fall apart. And guess what? That takes time. And that's what the retainer is paying me for. So that if you're a jerk, I can walk. It doesn't protect you. And I tell that to the clients, right? Usually right up to, they're like, what's the retainer for? And I'm like, to protect me from you. They're like, oh, well, I'm not like that. I'm like, well, I don't know that. That's why I'm asking for a retainer.
You also have that safety net of, I usually get that final payment before things are sent to the printer or files. Like the final files stay in my possession until I'm paid. And then you get the print file, or then it hits the printers or gets made into whatever it's going to get made into. So you do have that final layer of protection as well.
One thing that Justin and I noticed, I have a, maybe I won't name the project that it relates to, but I had a commission where one of the people involved in getting me to do this work started out as the perfect sort of person. They wanted to pay a lot for a really specific piece, and they were happy to wait for it, and everything was like everything you could ever want in a commission client. They were going to be great. They were really excited about the work, complimentary, paid up front. Everything's great.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, sounds perfect. And then like every 2 days, how's it going? Where is it at? What's happening with it? What is happening?
And of course, you have nothing else going on in your life other than this one.
Right. Especially
client,
when I explain to that person, in this particular instance, in this villain of my story, I will not be beginning this commission for 3 months until after I'm done going to all these shows and doing this promotion for this other stuff.
The parallels are crazy because I told my client the exact same thing. Like the Dragon Nanny Kickstarter has to happen, and then I can get started on your project.
Right. So I'm not even going to be looking at it or thinking about it. So if you'd like to wait until then, I'll remind you by email, and you can pay me then.
Sure.
Right? No, I want to be the first in line. I want to make sure I'm number one. I have to be number one. And this that should have been the flag. I have to be number one.
Oh, have to.
Right? But it wasn't a flag because I'm dumb. So, and then in an almost every other day correspondence for 3 months, just checking in if you had a chance. I know you're busy. You said you were busy, but there's lots of time on the road. I listened to your podcast where you guys do other things. It's clear from your podcast that you could have been working on my thing. Why aren't you working on my thing?
Holy.
Right? Oh my God, somebody's using the podcast against you.
They're doing research.
Yeah.
It's not the intention of this podcast.
Right? So, as if to suggest that they were somehow entitled to my time, even though I told them when I would start. Right? I would have organized
that.
And then really helpful emails, I would reorganize I listened to your podcast. I would reorganize how I would spend my time when I'm traveling this way so that I could attend to my commissions like this. Right? Deep groan.
Yeah.
Did you reply to all these, or did you just kind of let them
So the first couple I replied to by just a reminder, just a friendly reminder. It will be a while before I can start. Hey, one more time, just let you know I'm not starting. And then I marked them as spam, made a little folder for them, and made sure they all landed in there. And after 200 of these,
holy cow,
I realized this person is insane. Well, maybe not certifiably insane, but just really the wrong kind of person you want to be having correspondence with, right? And it creates in you a reluctance to even want to undertake the piece.
Oh, for sure.
To begin with,
it clouds you. It clouds your feelings about it. You're like, you don't really want to do it because this person's causing you such stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not going to be as good.
Yeah. So about a month out of when I said I would start, I said, turns out I'm not going to be able to. I'd like to refund your money. And they refused to accept the refund. They were like, no, I must have it because I must.
Because you could tell at this point that this was an individual you didn't want anything to do.
Yeah, this is a red flag person.
Yeah.
Like nothing. There's, my father would say that people sort of fall into two categories in most times. One of them are the malcontents, that no matter what you do or for those people, they're unhappy. And I could just see the malcontentness of this exchange. Happy to even pay more, he said. Sorry for the inconvenience, right, of all that correspondence. Deep sigh, trying to do well by it. The publisher at that time was like, please, this person has been emailing us.
Oh, yikes.
About how they are so excited about it, but we can tell something is up. Like there is more to this person than, and, we jokingly call these people super fans, but we don't mean it in a nice way. The fanatic part of fan, not the
negative connotation.
Yeah, the negative connotation. And so it just became a scenario where, because it wasn't totally my show, and I was doing it sort of in conjunction with a larger project, I had to sort of play nice with a person that didn't deserve it. And it finally finished. And I told myself, okay, I'm just going to have the most fun I can have doing this piece. I'll do the piece. I would do it as if it was for myself. Like I literally had to play a mental game of divorcing myself.
Separate yourself from him. And
from the event, just so that I could do a really good work. And then I really liked it. I was like, okay, this is a great piece. It's going to be happy with. This is the kind of thing that is going to make a person like that just chill out. Right? Like, how could you not? It's exactly what you've asked for.
I can see the twist coming out.
Right? No. Super upset. Doesn't like it. Now wants to be refunded.
Oh, no.
Just absolutely ridiculous. So I said, no problem. Yeah, I'll refund you. And then it was like, oh, okay, but I still want the piece.
Oh, man.
Right? And so this is the kind of thing where you say to yourself, this person is obviously going to go online and talk shit, which they did. They're going to make a big kerfuffle with people who it's nobody's business, which they did. And that's just part of opening yourself up to the internet like that. And you just have to like chalk it up to experience and look for those red flags. The worst.
Cool.
Right?
So let me just clarify. They didn't like what you did, and they wanted a refund.
First, they loved it, and they wanted it immediately. Every other day, they wanted it.
When they actually saw it, they didn't like it.
Correct, yeah.
And then they wanted a refund, but they wanted you to do another one? Is that what they were trying to get?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, for wasting their time.
But so they wanted the second one for free?
Yeah. Oh,
jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. That's entitled. Yeah. That's crazy. I don't know. It's you want to chalk it up to maybe an experience in the business world that they might think this way, but that's
it was the worst. So they're out there, and it's been a few years since I have to even think about this person. So it's like a little raw,
maybe they still
rawer than it should. I haven't processed this.
If you're still listening to the podcast,
yeah. If you're still listening, well, no. I hope you've grown as a person. That's what I hope. Because if you're the same kind of person, never talk to me again.
Okay.
Would you have handled it differently if the publisher hadn't been involved? If it was just
Absolutely.
You and him?
100%. I would have just refunded their money and said sorry. Right? You are too hard to work with. Right? You are a malcontent. Mm-hmm. Right? You're not going to be. I get the sense that you're not going to be happy with anything I do. Here's your money back. Thank you very much.
It says 100% guaranteed, you moron. Mister, if you don't shut up, I'm going to kick 100% of your ass.
Now, you guys are well established in the world in this world, and so you have freelance clients that you can have the luxury of picking and choosing them to a certain degree, but many artists don't, right? If you're just starting out, you want to get
COVID's changed that somewhat.
Oh, has it really?
Yeah, okay. But Well,
I guess that's true because you don't have the conventions right now. So, but that being said, that you still have. For artists just starting out might encounter someone like this, but they need the money. They have to do it. They don't have the luxury of refunding, so they have to get through it. So what would you say to those people?
Like if you just have to do it?
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to be happy, and they're going to ask, that's when you go back to and this is what I did. I kept responding. I would copy, like screen capture, our very first correspondence of what we agreed on from the very beginning. And I just kept including that. Like, here's what we agreed on from the very beginning. This is what I'm going to do, right? Everything after that was you asking for more. And if you'll recall, I didn't agree to any of that. you in your mind believed that that's what it was now, but this was the first thing we agreed to. And eventually you'll do the work and give it to them, and if they're not happy, they're malcontents. They're not going to be happy with anything you do.
And they may complain about it online.
They're going to.
Yeah. Oh, they will. Okay.
Yeah. No, there's no may about it. Yeah. These kinds of, like, that's what people do these days. They sport hate online.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
So that's what they'll do. And that's what they did. And, it's the worst.
Yeah. I feel a little better about mine now.
I want it to be worse. Make up something.
Congratulations, you've won.
Make up something.
You've won the worst client award today.
I had one earlier in my career when it was I was still working a full-time job, and I was still kind of getting my, foundation of freelance kind of established, and just I hadn't worked for a whole lot of clients yet. And I had taken a course in the city about managing your finances as a freelance artist or musician or whatever. It was a great course put on through ACI, which, are they still ACI? No, Creative Manitoba.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Creative Manitoba. So it was a great course. And through there, I was connected with a musician who saw, she was kind of fledgling musician and saw my work and came up with an idea of she had a new album coming out and wanted me to do some artwork for the album booklet. And then at this point, I had been doing a lot of these live paintings, live digital paintings. So I'd have my Cintiq computer set up to a projector, and it would be projected onto a wall. And I did this at a big outdoor party. I did it at a couple bars. It was just kind of a neat thing that I was trying out and having a lot of fun with. So I kind of pitched her on that as well. So I was doing a whole bunch of artwork for her, and then I was going to be at one of her first shows for the album release, doing a live painting.
That sounds so awesome.
Right? It was so exciting. And everything was exciting up until the project was finished. And then it was suddenly, I don't know what, this completely took me off guard. The project finished, I had been paid, things had been printed, the show went well, we sold things, and then she's like, I'd like to have a coffee to discuss how everything went. Uh-oh. And I'm like, sure, yeah, things went great.
Follow up. We can't wait to do the next one.
I felt like I was getting broken up with, and I didn't see it coming. We had this great relationship. Where's all this coming from? She was like, I want my money back.
Me, it's you.
And I'm not happy with how anything went, and you kind of took advantage of me. And what? Where's all this coming from?
How dare you, sir?
I don't know.
Why would you take advantage of her like that?
Or, we'd been working together for a month and a half, 2 months. None of this came up during it. It wasn't until after the project was done that suddenly she decided to backpedal super hard.
Was it a case of my expectations for what I would get out of what I put up didn't match?
I think, yeah, she was a little delusional about
what the return on investment would be?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay, I see. So maybe it was tied to album sales or something like that, or
maybe
the success of the event or whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one idea.
You got to put a giant confused shrug beside that. It's hard to know sometimes. Yeah. But it's weird that she didn't flag anything leading up to it.
She paid me and then asked for money back.
Right.
Was I've never heard of that happening before.
But she didn't say exactly what it was the problem. Just that you are evil and you misled her.
She wasn't happy with how things went. I'm trying to think if there was any specifics. During the live painting, she was really upset that there were toolbars on the screen. She did not, what was all that stuff on the side of the painting? And I'm like, it's Photoshop. It has, tools and stuff.
I need to paint with something.
Yeah, and so she didn't like that, and she didn't like that I was selling stuff at the album release party as well. But I talked to her about that before. Can I bring a portfolio and set while you're selling that, I can sell. I've just got a new book that's come out. I've got artwork. I can set that up as well. Yeah. So she didn't like that. And then so we had this Hey,
listen, as someone who's tabled beside you for years, it takes a pretty robust ego to handle that that Justin guy is outselling you 2-1, easy. Right. Right. And so you have to be cool with that. Like, that's just how it's.
But you don't expect it if you've never worked with him before.
That's right.
You've never tabled beside him.
Yeah. You probably sold more art than she sold CDs. It's probably.
I do recall that I, in my head, noticed that I was selling more than she was selling. So that might have had something to do with it. But then after this coffee, there was also like
I'm on her side now.
A bunch of like really strongly worded emails of her being like, this was a lot of money for me and I'm going to fight to like get it back now. Like she wanted to take like legal action over, and again, like just because she wasn't happy with how things went long after.
Interesting. Yeah. So like creatives in general sometimes don't have the buyer beware built in that a lot of entrepreneurs or just general, I hate the term business person because what does that really mean, right? What does it mean? It means you'll take advantage of people for money. I don't really, right? Or like you won't take it personally if someone takes money from you, right?
It's
That's
business,
not true
it's
either.
Not personal. That's the same.
Yeah,
right?
but all business is personal, and let's face it, right?
It's business, not
right?
personal.
Yeah,
Like
business is business. Business is business. That's nonsense. You can have integrity and also, work for money. That's what partially what happens, right? Is like people don't realize that their expectation is getting in the way, right? Like someone gets, like I've had people hire me to do covers for their books, for example. And I'll dissuade them because they're like, hey, I saw you at a show. Could you do a cover? Your books were doing really great. Maybe if you did a cover on mine, that would be awesome. And I say to them, like, listen, the book sales, like, I like doing covers. They're fun. I think I'm good at them. That's not a secret weapon, right? A good cover will get you somewhere, but just because you have this cover on it isn't going to immediately affect your sales. And so here is what it costs you to have me stop pursuing my dreams to help you build yours. You have to weigh that against what you think that is going to be. And if you're a small, independent, self-published person, right, hiring me to do your cover is probably not the right move, right?
Yeah.
And then they don't like to hear that, right? How good is the book? How has the book been reviewed, right? Like, is your reason for rebranding the cover or the content?
Right? So it very, very much seems to be that one of the things you definitely have to do at the outset is set the expectations, like really clearly, like, tell them what you're giving them. And I'm sure you did that, Justin, for this person, but it's just that she changed what she felt was the right product. I don't know. Again, it seems baffling that would happen. But at the outset, like you said, you went back to what you first agreed on. This is what I said I would do, and I did that. And
so the other part of this that I think I should bring up is initially she wanted, I think, 6 illustrations that would tell a story, kind of like a slideshow as the song went on, and then do the live painting, and like all this stuff would be printed in a booklet and stuff like that. And I quoted her $3,000 for the work. She only could offer me $500.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, I like you. We had fun in class. You're emerging artist. I'm emerging artist. I will happily. You know what? Sure. Like I'm taking a huge.
So you did it for that price.
I did it for $500 instead of $3,000.
The other thing you could do is scale it back, right? You could say, okay, well, for $500, then I can do this.
Yeah. No, you were starting out then too.
I was
right?
starting out.
So you knew enough to quote what you were worth, and then your emotions, I think, led you to be like, I'm like you.
That was, I think, part of it. Like, I want to help you. I'll help you help me. Like, we can all,
And this is what I mean. Business is personal.
Well, yeah, when you're doing freelance is.
Right?
Freelance
But business is always personal.
Well, not when you're working for a giant corporation.
Yeah, they don't care about you. That's how personal it is.
Okay.
Right? You mean nothing to them.
Right.
Right? That's how personal they're taking it. And you should know that. You're just a cog in that horrible machine to be ground up and spit out as so much gravel. Right? But if you're hiring an artist, right, they'll take it personally.
Of course.
Because that's what you need to be to an artist, is a person.
Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
I'm all cool with haggling, like, can you do it for this? We meet in the middle.
Got to barter.
We negotiate, right? Like, I'm all for negotiating, but I find in all my experience, like, selling at a table and talking to people about paying for projects, as soon as they get a bit of a discount, they see that as a green light to try to squeeze you for everything that they can.
Okay.
So now that I've gotten you to lower on that, well, I want you to go lower on this, and this, you know? Now that I know that you can budge there, I'm going to try to get you to budge everywhere. And eventually it just kind of like grates on you.
Yeah. And I mean, the way you do that or how you use that is with big corporations that have big margins. You should always ask for more when you're dealing with somebody who has obviously a company running at scale, right? If you're a small client and you're like, listen, I'm a small client. I want to be able to return here often. Is there something you can do on this price? You know, is there something you can do on this material? Is there something that you can do here? Because I don't have the margins, but you do. And then business is personal again. That person, like we do this with our reps at book printing places, right? Like, no, we're not HarperCollins, but we'd like to print 5 books this year, right? What can you do for us?
Right.
And you can get that. But when it's an individual and it's their sole income, you should not be trying to shave it here and shave it there and shave it a little more.
Just people, I find, especially at conventions, like if somebody's getting a lot of things, like if instead of just getting 1 print, you want to get 5 and a canvas and a book, like we can talk about a deal. So I've had people find out how low I'll go on a print if they get a whole bunch of things, and then, okay, well, I don't want a whole bunch of things, but now I want the prints at that price that you just said.
Okay, well, no,
that's the kind of thing that I've had happen
this is a strategy
times.
of people at shows. Is that kind of strategy. Yeah, it's like, oh, well, that's what you must be willing to go for. It's like, no, right?
And then I wanted to talk about this. I've got an awesome client right now. It's a boxing gym in the city.
Yes.
And they wanted me to do a bunch of portraits. And normally I don't do portraits. I don't ever go out of my way to do portrait work because, I don't know, just never been a big fan. But after this week, I really like doing portraits. I did 12 different portraits, and I just kind of like, I haven't done portrait work in years, but I just kind of got back into it. I had a lot of fun with it. And like normally, I think it was a couple days of work. Like if I was charging them what I normally charge, it'd probably be about $2,500 worth of painting that I did, $2,500 to $3,000. But it's I really like this gym. I know the people there, and I really like boxing. So instead of charging them that dollar amount,
instead of a knockout price.
Instead of the knockout
price. I mean, that's a boxing pun. Yeah. No, come on. It's all I have. I'm a dad now. These puns are all I have.
A membership instead. Like I got a couple months free of membership. Because that's something that they can offer that is easy for them to offer.
And it holds value for you.
And it holds value for me. And there's so many, like I've worked with a lot of companies where I feel like they don't use that to their advantage a bit more. Like what was another one?
We always pick chapters to visit that have a Starbucks in them.
Yeah.
Because the manager always brings us fancy coffees.
But have you worked for companies or done projects before where it wasn't money you were getting, but something else?
Quid pro quo.
Quid pro Clarice.
Ooh, Blue Water, you got advertising.
Oh my God. Yeah, well I did, but that's because I suspected that they were not going to pay their final bill, so I tried to get the most out of them that I could. Like in-kind services. So in film and TV stuff, or even in theater a little bit, there has been some in-kind trades where it's like, you do this for me, and I'll come and do a 2-day workshop for you with your people. You help me with my people, right? You run this story writing seminar, and I'll come and do an illustration seminar with you. Like, I've done that kind of trade where it's literally time and skill swapped over the course of a day or two. But not usually like rolled into a, okay, but if you look at it through the right lens, anytime that you negotiate to get a certain number of books at print costs from a publisher, that's really what they're leveraging, is their ability to get print copies to you.
Yeah, I think the point I'm trying to get across to, like when we started this conversation, you asked, what would you tell people starting out? There are people that you're going to work with that they're not going to be able to pay you what you're worth. And so if there's something else that you can get in kind instead of that dollar amount, ask for it. See if you can negotiate there.
Well, I did illustrated 5 stories of doctors working on the front line of the pandemic, and I did that for less than I would normally do it for. And that was based on the relationship that I had with the person running, with Gillian Horton, who was putting the whole project together. And it was, kind of a miracle that there was any money at all for a project of that scope. And we've worked together in the past, and she's always done well by me. And this was one of those times where it was like, yeah, for you, I'll do it like this, right? And for now, because the world needs a little bit of compassion, I'll do it like this. And she, had my back through the whole process.
One of the reasons I asked that question is because I am kind of in this space. I'm starting out doing more freelance stuff. I mean, it's been a while. I've been doing this stuff for a while now for the podcast stuff. But tonight, for example, I have my very first private podcasting lesson.
Oh,
so I'm teaching.
You're the podcast doula.
I am a podcast.
That's cool.
So this course is going to be online through Zoom, and I'm meeting with a person, and we're going to spend 2 hours. And I quoted an hourly rate. And so it all came out of the conversation. I believe I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago where we talked about those microcredit courses that the college was offering. And this person had asked me about that, and it was not something that I was involved with. But then I said, well, they're not offering it right now because they're not. Like, the course isn't going to be offered until the new year. But if you want to learn, I can teach you. And I think it could probably, I'm like, what do you want to learn? And she told me what she wanted to learn. And then I said, okay, well, maybe we could do that in maybe 5 hours. I think 5 hours of instruction and then maybe some consulting hours and that kind of stuff. So we kind of, but we don't have a contract. That was just a verbal agreement or through chat, really. And this is somebody I know. So it's not a complete stranger. So I do trust that they're not going to...
Deep sigh.
Yeah.
The better you know them, the more you should have the agreement.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
Because people you know really well, you make assumptions about constantly. And because you like them, those assumptions don't hurt you
I don't know
or
her
your
really
relationship.
well, but I know her like on a professional level.
But just like from my experience, and I've learned the hard way a number of times, is that the better you know a person, the more it's more important to have it written what is really expected.
Okay.
Right.
Because I'm going to teach her what she wants to learn. But maybe my guess, what I'm worried about a little bit is maybe what she wants to learn isn't what she thinks it is.
Well, that's it exactly, right?
Yeah.
What if
Your expectations.
Yeah. So I should have had a better conversation with that.
So I did before, because now the whole world is divided into before and after the pandemic. In the before times, I did a little bit of consulting work for a person that wanted to know about, what we call hybrid publishing here, where it's like, you self-publish some of it, maybe you get a distributor that gets it out into the regular world of bookland, but ultimately it's not a publisher, but a person who's at the center of it, right? Which is kind of our jam. That's what we do here. So I said, sure. And I quoted them some time and what it would cost, and that was great. And they were dissatisfied with the answer. They were not happy with the information, which was the truth about how much it costs to print a book, what kind of margin there is on actually getting books through bookstores. Like when I gave them the actual facts, the irrefutable dollars and cents stuff that I could show them from distributors, they felt like they had been misrepresented as to what I was going to tell them. They thought what I was promising them was a clear path where they could do it for little money. And I had never at any time said that. They said, I want to hire you to give us some consulting to look at our project. And I showed them what it would really cost. And that
So you did math for them, and they really didn't like the math.
That's right. That made me the villain, right? Yeah. Now, what was good is that I had already been paid for that short half day worth of time. And obviously they didn't ask for me back because I'd smashed their dreams, which wasn't my reason, right? All I was trying to do was tell them how it would really work and where the margins were.
They didn't want to be educated. They wanted you to break the system for them.
Yeah, and I think there's this subculture of business coaches that has poisoned the world to rational thinking. Where like what they hoped I would do would be a person, I think, they were going to pay me for half a day of my time to tell them what a genius they were and how their plan could not fail. And I could have done that. But when I saw really clear ways in which they were going to hemorrhage money inside of 24 months, I pointed them out. Right?
Yeah, they didn't like
How dare you?
How dare I? Well, like, I asked them something really simple, like, where will you warehouse these books? we won't need a warehouse because we're going to sell so many of them right off the top.
Oh, really?
And I said, oh, what is your brand? What is your strategy for distribution? Oh, well, once we've been in a few bookstores, the bookstores will just want them.
Oh, God.
Exactly, right? So, sometimes you're the bearer of bad news in freelance life or in consulting.
Can you tell us anything about the book itself? Was it a half decent idea that could stand on its own two legs, or?
That's the thing. It was it was better than a half decent idea.
Yeah.
The book itself, with some good substantive editing, was a great nonfiction, useful tool that I think could have worked great.
Do you have that one with that guy who was in that movie that was out last year? Ooh, Navy SEALs.
People sometimes in Bookland are convinced that once news got out that there was a way to game the New York Times bestseller list, everyone believes they can. And so, right, that's how they're going to get famous and get rich quick. Is get their book on the New York Times bestseller.
I honestly think that's lost all meaning for me, though. Having a book on the New York Times best-selling list, it doesn't really mean much.
If you arrive there legitimately, it means like some great things for the author.
I'm sure it means a lot to the author, but as far as as a selling point to me, this book is on the New York Times bestseller list. Well, so are hundreds of other books. It's not really. That's not what's going to get me to read a book.
Yeah, something being super popular and something being of quality aren't.
Yeah.
Actually, I was thinking about that the other day. How fun it would be to print a book with that gold starburst foil sticker, on the book, and embossed my mom's #1 pick. Because on a bookshelf, all you see is that big starburst gold foil award.
Somebody sent me a picture of a book recently, and I know they listen to the podcast, so you know that I'm talking about you. Sent me a book of an author that made a sticker for their poetry book that says millions and millions of copies sold or something, that they put on the front of their own book. But the publisher wouldn't do it. They would go to the bookstores and sticker that themselves on their own book. Right?
Okay.
As a way of it's kind of like a little bit of a subversive.
Is it true?
No, it's not even remotely
It's
true.
kind of like one of those award winning. That means
we're award winners though. It means something.
But
and I always preface when I talk about you guys to other people, I always preface it with award winning.
Yeah, we are award winning. Yeah. We won many people's hearts. That was our award.
And you won awards real awards.
Oh, we did win some real awards too. Yeah. Rewards are peer review. That's what it means these days.
Yeah.
Award winning means peer reviewed.
Yeah.
And then and it does have meaning to some people if you have a good track record with, reading Hugo award-winning books, then you might read every Hugo award-winning book, right?
That's right.
That
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And it does. There's always a bump in sales. Like if you're a Giller nominee, it matters.
Oh yeah.
Right. But again, that's because of the peer review. It means that people who love to hate books liked this one anyway.
So I have a question, and it sounds like you guys have had some experience with this. So one of the first times I ever quoted someone a price for freelance work, I got and I was being pretty conservative as well. At first I get, and this is something I'm sure everybody struggles with, how much do you charge? You've talked about having a day rate in the past. I don't feel like I'm up to the point where I have a day rate, because a lot of the things I can do don't take me a full day. So I don't have a day rate. I have an hourly rate.
Should have a day rate, Dan.
Yeah, but I would, at this point.
Here's why. Here's why. I'm just going to interrupt you. Just rudely interrupt the producer of my own podcast. You need a day rate because the hourly rate is the tool for you never to get what you're worth.
But I'm comfortable with the hourly rate, and I don't spend more time than I quote doing the thing that I'm being hired to do.
All things being equal, that will be true.
But also there's correspondence and stuff like that too.
Yeah, see that, like, for example, the 5-hour tutoring thing, between like the actual sitting down with this person and going through everything, and then the back and forth, and then the following up, and then everything else.
That's a full day. 5 hours is actually 8.
Yeah, easy.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to my story.
Okay.
I can't wait to interrupt it again.
I will look at that. I promise I will look at that, and I will determine a day rate. But I just feel it's because of an experience like this, I feel like it's going to scare people off, because I quoted something to this one. This actually came out of the I don't know if anybody remembers, I did this thing with Terry O'Reilly last year as part of the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce. Terry O'Reilly is the host of the Under the Influence podcast for CBC. Anyway, that was a kind of a high-profile thing, and I got some inquiries out of that as far as like, oh, how much would you charge to produce this podcast for me in this podcast? And so one lady, I quoted her, and it was the idea was, I'll tell you guys the idea too, she wanted to take stage plays and put them into podcast form.
I'm into it.
Yeah,
so
cool.
So people, and she said it would be a great way to get, and this is all pre-COVID, right? So this is a great way to get more people interested in performances and performers.
So essentially turn them into radio plays,
Pretty
right?
much, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think she was talking about taking the actual audio from like a recording of a performance and then turning that into a rated
When
podcast.
you need like exposition and stuff.
Yeah, you would, because there's certain visuals that would not work, right? So you would have to structure it differently. And we talked about that. And so then when it came down to like an hourly rate to for my editing and that kind of stuff, I quoted her. She's like, "Oh, I had no idea it was me so much." Like she was shocked. And I'll tell you guys the number after we're done.
Right. People are often shocked that their ideas aren't free.
Well, but no, she was perfectly willing to pay me, but certainly not that much. And she had this idea in her head of how much she would pay. And I'm like, how do you kind of work around that and tell people your expectations are too low in that regard?
Okay, so a really important thing here. Justin and I had this talk a lot with different clients. Is what else can they do that is helpful to what you do? And I guess this is where we've had those conversations of what is that in-kind exchange, right? Like this person can't pay my full rate, but they're also driving to Calgary. You think they'd carry these boxes for us all the way there, right? Like,
okay, I didn't think of that, but yeah.
Right? There are ways in which if you have some relationship with them, you can get a little, maybe if she is, see how I might have spun a scenario just as you said it is, okay, if you can't pay me a full rate, I love podcasting and I occasionally need voice actors and I would like to do some spots, some other things where I have some transitional material. Can you help me arrange the talent to do that in exchange for the difference of my fee?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there doesn't sound like there's any money to be made from this idea. Like it's
that's the thing. She was expecting to charge people for it, and I was trying to tell her that in this space, nobody really charges for content unless it's really premium. Like the only podcasts that charge are like one
super famous people.
Yeah, pretty much, and it has to be like an exclusive interview with somebody that you like. For example, the Barack Obama interview with Mark Maron. I think that's pretty much behind a paywall now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's like it's not really a money making. Sure, it'd be great as a marketing tool to do what she wanted to do, but they wouldn't make money from it.
It's a neat idea, but that falls into that like passion project kind of category. Like there's no money to be made. So what reason do you have to give up your free time to make it happen for her?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
'cause everyone has a dream, and you gotta,
It reminds me of like
trade
most
yours for
kids'
theirs.
books authors, like most people who want to make a kids' book, right? It's their dream project, and they're usually not prepared to pay to have it illustrated.
Right.
Why won't you like do this for peanuts so I can make my kids' book that I've always wanted to make?
Right?
Yeah.
You could say, well, how about instead you pay me for art lessons, and then you can draw your own kid's book. So it's like value added. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Every day at the art lesson, we'll do a page of your kid's book. I'll do it, and then you do it. Right? I'll keep mine, and you publish yours. You can do that. I mean, it's kind of condescending. I do mean to be condescending in that particular instance, but that's because the person is imaginary that we're making fun of. Right?
Sure.
In most cases, people who really want to get something done and have reached out to a freelancer are often exploring their options.
Yeah.
And I think it does take a little bit of patience to figure out who's exploring their options and who's ready for the next step. And you have to have in your own business a few general questions that help determine if they know what they're doing.
So many
Right?
people haven't learned that lesson. We've said it many times on the podcast. Many people have said it. Ideas are worthless.
Yeah.
They're not worth anything.
It's the action.
Rick, have you ever heard the expression, the customer is always right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here I am, the customer.
That's not our policy.
I was a bit gun shy about quoting that rate to people because of that experience with that one woman. But since then, I've kind of come around, and you guys have helped with that as well. When I do podcast, I do producing for other podcasts, including the Games You Deserve podcast, which you guys helped me kind of get. And
Don't give us credit for that.
Well, no, but it was a connection through this podcast, and it was because I was working with you guys on this podcast that I got that gig. So I quoted them, and they were accepting of the hourly rate, and then I did that again for this podcast lesson. I said, okay, well, here's my hourly rate, and kind of see where it is. And really, I mean, they're going to be looking at this for a total number of dollars spent. So if I want to quote them, a certain amount per hour, then I can reduce the amount of hours to make it cheaper, right? And that's what I did. And so that's why I said 5 hours. And then so we're just going to do 2 hours at a time, basically, until she feels like she's, I guess, learned enough.
Right.
But again, I guess it would be good to have that kind of in writing, so at least I know. But
it sounds like you already did the right thing, which is figure out what it is that she wants to know.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, do I have those answers? And is that value added? Is that something I had to work hard to learn? And if so, then it costs you money to learn that for nothing.
And the rate that I'm charging her is comparable to what she would have paid for that course that wasn't offered. So it's about what she would have been wanting to pay.
And one time with an instructor.
Yeah. I was going to say it's
actually more valuable than
way more valuable. Sure. Yeah.
I really want to get you a business card that says podcast doula now, though. Right?
It's like the difference of conversation between like the lady who wanted to do the play thing versus the the games that made us the
podcast. What are you talking about? Games You Deserve?
Games You Deserve. Sorry.
Games that made us. There's another one.
Well, that's not bad. Like just knowledge of the industry. Like they knew that you're asking for a fair rate because they work in that world.
Yes.
She doesn't speak the same language as you, so it was everything's foreign, and it's kind of like she had no idea.
Yeah, I agree.
And sometimes that's part of the first couple conversations with a client is figuring out if they understand your industry a little bit or not.
Yeah. And then certainly the first thing I tell people when they're expressing an interest in podcasting, it's very similar to what you guys say. You can't get rich doing this. Unless you have an audience of hundreds of thousands of people, you're not going to get rich podcasting. Yeah. It's got to be a tool for something else or something you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And for this person that I'm teaching tonight, it is a tool for something else. It is something that she's going to do for her employer. And that's fine. And that's exactly what she wants to do. But it's not like she's not going to become a famous podcaster and go off and get rich.
Well, what we're trying to do here at the studio is break there's a rule of thumb that you can listen to fairly often on Writing the Wrong Way podcast if you'd like. But it goes like this, is that in writing or in creative endeavors, you can make either a tiny amount of money or an enormous amount of money, but it's almost impossible to make a regular amount of money every year.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And what we are trying to do is break that here at the studio, is instead structure things in a way in which a person, like me, a father of two, right, can make a regular amount of money every year so that you can plan for the future of your own children, right? And that means that we have advice that is counter to what people are used to hearing. But, the receipt that we can show them is the studio and the lives that we have, right? Like it's possible. It's not easy, but how many jobs are easy, right?
None. I don't know that there's an easy job out there. Is there? I mean, I don't know.
And how much can we really complain? Think about people who actually have to deal with normal customers day to day.
Oh, yeah.
Like nonstop.
Yeah. My heart goes out to every retail person.
Right? Yeah, I used to live in that world as well, and I've had many, many experiences like that as well. So I can feel for them totally. And that's one of the reasons why I got out.
Sometimes I think you develop a thick skin doing that. And being a freelance illustrator who doesn't deal with too many not so nice people, I feel like I still take it pretty personally when somebody comes along who is trying to take advantage of me.
Yeah, we do take it personally. I mean, look at how I haven't thought about that villain in years, but
you're all worked up.
I'm all worked up about it. Right? You do take it personally.
It's similar to that one negative comment you got on a post that's just kills you after
it kills the 20
hundreds of positive comments about a piece or about something you've done, and then the one negative person just kills it all.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. And people know that online. They know the power. That's what that sport hating I keep joking about is, that people do it just because they know. Right? Yeah. And if we keep admitting that it affects us, they just keep doing it. Right? So maybe that's the hard part. Other repulsive essentials, what would you say about how to what have you learned from this, Justin? What would you impart to the dear listener?
That I should have trusted, the red flag gut reaction went off like months ago. And I was thinking of pulling the plug with this person saying like, you know what, it's just not going to work out. I don't have time for your project. But I didn't. I just kind of kept it going. And exactly what I feared was going to happen happened. And so I just kind of wish I'd listened to my first reaction of this person a little more closely and quickly.
Okay, well, let's unpack that. A healthy amount, I think you should have some healthy pessimism when you're dealing with clients, right? But what would that have actually looked like? What's a way that you could have navigated right there? When you had that gut reaction, what might you have said? Should you have just said, I'm too busy? Goodbye.
I would have just said, yeah, some big projects came up. I don't have time to work on yours anymore. I'm really sorry. Maybe let's touch base again in 2021. You have a good one.
Right.
And most people who... I've done that before where somebody will approach me asking for something and I can kind of tell off the bat I don't want to really do this. I'll usually just say, let's give it a couple months and touch base again, because they never come back.
Right.
They're not dedicated enough to the idea to follow up later on.
Yeah.
And I think this would have been true with this individual. He was just caught up in the idea of it and the fact that I was stoking the fire of the project by replying to him.
Yeah, so you get commission requests more often. What I tend to do or get in my email is like, hey, I have an idea for a comic. Would you like to work on it with me? You know, what are your rates, whatever. And I would say, oh, you have an idea. Great. Send me the first 10 pages of the script.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
As soon as you ask them to do any work.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about comics is that if you're conversant in making comics at all, even if you haven't made any, you've looked into it and you've decided I'm going to, you know that there are 5 different answers, maybe more, maybe 100, to send me the first 10 pages of the script. Mm-hmm. You should respond with, do you prefer Marvel style? Do you prefer a DC style? What kind of, are you more of an Alan Moore writer or are you more of a Neil Gaiman? You're like, what do you prefer as an artist? Like,
I don't want to send you pages because you'll steal my ideas.
Yeah, and that right there. That means they honestly have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know how it works. And that's a normal, natural place to be. And so by asking that question, when they say, oh, well, I don't have the script together yet, I thought maybe we would come up with that together. And I say, oh, you mean we'll own it together? And they say no. I'm like, okay, so if you want to own your own intellectual property, you must have crafted it yourself.
It must be a thing to
It has
own.
to exist already. Yeah. You can own the IP on your script, but you can't own the IP on an idea you tell me and then I draw. That I created that then. I'm a co-creator, co-author.
Yeah.
You can hear the whispering of the goblins in the background here, right? The whispering of the goblins. Oh, one's coming closer.
That sounds like Smeagol.
It's Smeagol. Yeah, well, those are my 2 sons.
You just...
Yeah, Schmeagol and Schmegel are my 2 sons.
All right.
I think it's also helped too that like over the last couple of years, I've simplified things. Like I've made them a lot more blunt. And part of that is the day rate. Like this is my day rate. This project will take this many days. I take X amount up front. It's usually 50%, or if it's a smaller, or sometimes it's just $100 like retainer. Like I've just done enough times that I kind of lay out, this is how it works. Do you want to continue? And before it was just a lot more back and forth and every client was kind of fluid and everything was different. And so now that I've kind of just made the conversation so much blunter, it's gotten a lot easier.
Good.
I realized that I have a point to make here that comes back around to something we said as to why not an hour rate and why a day rate. It comes down to the constituent parts, all right? A person who wants to pay hours for something believes that it will only take hours. A serious person knows a real project takes days and days to complete. And so when you charge them in days, it separates who is serious and who is not about what they're undertaking.
Okay. My concern about that is that... So what you would say is that take my hourly rate and multiply that by 8 for a day, right? And a day rate is 8 hours?
Correct.
Generally?
Yeah.
So that's fine, although I might not, like I would probably not spend an entire day on something. So that's
fine.
That means I spend those 8 hours like 2 hours at a time.
Right. And then try not to charge less than half a day for anything you do.
Right. Okay. My concern is that at this point in my freelance career, I don't know that there's a ton of interest in Not as much demand for my services as there are for yours.
I think you're going to be surprised. Like,
well, yeah,
it's growing.
It is growing. You're right. It is growing.
And you are in a unique position. You were there early. You've failed a million times. So you have all the ways in which not to do it. You have that experience already, right? That's what people are paying for, is help me not make the mistakes I'll make if I know nothing.
Right.
You did those. You did that already.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? That's what we're charging for when someone says, like, hey, I'll do a commission. The first commissions I ever did, I had to redo like 4 times to get right.
Oh, really?
You know?
Oh, okay.
Because when you're starting out as an artist, you get it wrong all the time. All the time. And you eat that time, right? But I don't get it wrong that often anymore. And that's what you're paying for.
Okay.
Right? I mean, sometimes I miss the mark totally.
Happens less and less these days because you have such a portfolio out there. You're so established in your style and your look. People can now envision exactly what they're going to get.
Or if they don't know, I can at least send them. Like what I'll often do, like lately I've been getting more requests from like small and independent film production companies. They're like, hey, I want you to do some pre-production work. I'll send them a PDF that has like 70 illustrations in a range of complexity that like builds up. And then I get them to kind of point where in my menu what they want. Mm-hmm. And then I quote the day rate, because certain things will take me longer than others, and some are more fun to do than others, and some are, I'd leave a lot of room for interpretation. So if they're on that low end of the detail spectrum, then the day rate is the same, but the number of days are much less.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
I'll do it. I'll set a day rate.
Value yourself, Dan. This has been Super Pulp Science, where we've talked about the repulsive essentials of freelance life. This is Gregory Kamichuk encouraging you to join the fight and make comics.